Aye, Shepherd's Pie. Greetings from the Philippines. Welcome back to the channel for a caramel frappuccino and a chat. I'm in City Hall by the beach, having a wonderful day, and I decided I would make another video. I'm not actually gonna apologise for this. I am going to revisit the pro-life traveller argument and just the internet in general, the insanity. I was gonna let it go. I was gonna leave it be. I wasn't gonna talk about it again. I did say on the last video it would probably or it would be my last video. But since then I've changed my mind. And I'll tell you why. It is the insanity of YouTube, which the blow up from the videos I've made is blowing my mind. And it got me thinking, that's really what I want to talk about today. Not so much pro-life and Vitali, just the people, his supporters. Because I know I'm late coming to the party. I know I am. I know I'm not really a social media kind of guy. I started a YouTube channel a couple of years ago just to fill my time. I use Facebook. That's it. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on, I don't know, half the names of the other apps. So I'm not really a social media kind of guy, but I have been aware over the years there have been tragedies and things, and people have blamed social media trolls, and you know, a lot of celebrities say they don't go on social media because the environment is so toxic. And you know, I just took it with a pinch of salt. It wasn't really something that bothered me. Didn't really think about it much until I did my couple of videos on Pro Life Traveller, our old mate Sim. And yeah, it's blown my mind, some of the shit people have said. And I don't mean in terms of vindictive cyberbullying, all that kind of bollocks. Nothing like that has happened. It's just yeah, it blew my mind when I first did it that so many people assumed that because I had a YouTube channel that I was chasing the buck and I was just after this and I was delighting in his misfortune and all the rest of that stuff. Well, and I'm jealous of him, jealous of him. Well, as I said in the last video, I'm not jealous of him. But I won't go down that one because I would be open to the allegation of that does protest too much. Um, but what the reason I am making this now is the last video I did, it is the number of people who seem to be so in denial. Denial or stupidity. They must either be incredibly stupid or in denial, or I imagine the vast majority of them are a bit of both. And I know this is going to upset some of these snowflakes. It's not my intention. I don't go out to be controversial. When I was accused of just, delighting in people's misfortune when Sim got arrested. Look, I'm just a vlogger in Dumagetti. It happened in Dumagetti. He's a Dumagetti vlogger. So I spoke about it. Yeah, I've got a lot more hits and views out of it, but what does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means you put them all together, I'm about £50 better off than I was a week ago. Wow. That's not why I do it. I talked about it because I'm living in Dumagetti and, you know, it's something that happened there. And he was someone I wasn't really aware of. But then I got dragged into it in the sense that I watched a few more videos, I started talking about it and all the rest of this stuff. I learned a bit more about him. And I outlined what I thought he had done wrong, potentially, and I was very careful when I was making the videos that I didn't want to prejudice an investigation, etc., etc. But the stuff people have said over the last 48 hours, how I'm a hater and this guy's a good man and he hasn't done anything wrong and, he's just being victimized because he's highlighted this and he's highlighted that. What a lot of nonsense. What do you mean he's a good man? You don't know him. You know nothing about him. You know what he showed you on his YouTube channel. Is he a good man? Is he a bad man? I don't know. My impressions of his channel was he wasn't great as a person, as a human being. Well, neither am I. But I mean, how you think you know him and you know everything about him and you know that the charges are fake and there's nothing to answer for, and I'm talking crap and I'm just making things up. You don't have a clue. You do not know the guy. Always amazed me since I've had the YouTube channel where I meet people all of a sudden it comes, I'm so lucky to have Ellen and we're a great couple. And I say to them, you don't know us. You know nothing about us. Really? You know what I show you on the YouTube channel. I mean, I'm not saying we don't have a great relationship. The point is, you don't know us and you don't know him. So if you are really going to argue and champion some guy you don't know, it seems to be nothing short of hero worship. In terms of the laws he broke, people are saying, I mean, some people are saying the only crime he ever broke was to show poverty in the Philippines. Well, there may be an element of truth to that. You know, I'm trying to be impartial. I'm sure the powers that be didn't like him doing that kind of thing. I'm sure they would want to portray a more tourist attractive element, you know, paint it to be more perfect than it is over here. I get that. I think there's an element of truth to that. Certainly not enough though to get him banned. That will not have been the main reason why. I mean, on my channel, I often tell it how it is over here, warts and all. Sometimes I'm favourable about the Philippines, sometimes I'm negative about the Philippines. You know, I often get called the whinging pomp. I don't paint things out to be fantastic over here. I know a lot of vloggers do. You certainly couldn't accuse him of that. That's in his credit. You know, fair play to him. He certainly wasn't guilty of that. But the point is, there are laws over here. There are privacy laws, which are incredibly draconian compared to Western countries. You know, I don't agree with those laws. I've said that. You know, I'm not championing. And these people are calling me a hater when I wanted him kicked out, etc., etc. It's a load of bloody nonsense. But he broke those privacy laws. That is the reality. I can say it now because the investigation's over. He didn't blur faces out. He was filming minors. He was doing all sorts of things that he shouldn't have done if he was going to follow those laws. And I'm going to bring my video to an end now because, and I've lost the chip, that my food has just arrived. No trip to Sikihor would be complete without a trip down to Palawan Beach, the one and only, which has gone down considerably since I used to live here, in my humble opinion. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about pro-life. It is no doubt in the world that he breached the laws over here, the privacy laws. It is a matter of fact. You can see it on his videos. As I was saying earlier, I don't like those laws. You know, I have nothing against them. But for people to turn around and say he did nothing wrong, well, in that sense, he did. But it was further compounded. It was further compounded by the fact that he took videos of women when he had been out, dating, socialising, doing whatever you want to. It was stated in the Dumagetti trial when they were, you know, the prosecutor was saying that he wanted him declared persona non grata. He was very clear then that complaints had been made because he had attained footage of people which they weren't aware was going to go on to social media platforms. They didn't know he was a vlogger, and when they found out, they asked him to take it down, and he refused. He didn't do it, he ignored the request. Again, these are all breaches of the laws over here. I mean, they just are.
Mass motion, Mr. Chair. I'd also like to thank Mr. Chair, one of the victims, for helping me craft this resolution, Mr. Chair. She was really passionate on pushing me to pass this resolution, and some of the other victims are also watching us on live now on our Facebook Live. As much as they wanted to be here, but I advised them not to come, for them not to reveal their identities, Mr. Chair. So I just abangan na apartment sa Kantil A. So there were several videos online, no? And dagan pod kaayong reports against this Estonian vlogger na grabe gyud, they felt harassed and violated
sa ilang mga nakit-an online na wa sila nakabalo na ilang mga nawong naa na day sa YouTube, naa na day sa TikTok, naa na day sa ubang mga social media platforms. So this is a violation of our ordinance pod, no, which I also co-authored in the previous administration, ang bawal bastos.
To be honestly arguing that he did nothing wrong, that there was no case against him, that he was completely innocent. Nearly fell over there. Good God! You went right on my arse. That's the dangers of vlogging. Yeah, it's nonsensical. He did all those things. He did it on video, and I haven't seen some of the more dubious content, but apparently a few months ago we started taking some more stuff down. Now, you know, these are matters of fact. They happened. As I say, I have no opinion on them. I'm just counteracting this idea, this suggestion that he did nothing wrong whatsoever, and it's all been a witch hunt against him. He did those things. You know, that's it. Now, all this business about the overstay and the fact they've got nothing against him, that, you know, they wouldn't be prosecuting and that's why they didn't, is quite obvious to anyone with a brain cell. The whole overstay thing was just a way to get him out there. They didn't want him there. They didn't want him in Dumagetti. Not talking about the vloggers here, I'm talking about the authorities that be. Because he pissed off a lot of the locals. And the bloke was stupid. What's the expression, don't shit on your own doorstep? I am sure that if he had travelled around the Philippines, making the content he made in different locations, it is unlikely, we'll never know whether he would have got into the trouble he got into. It is unlikely, I would have thought, because he wouldn't be there long enough for people to make complaints. But he did it all in the city that he lived in. Yeah, he occasionally went up to other places, but what he did was, he did it in the city he lived in. For want of a better expression, he shat on his own doorstep and paid the price. Over time, he upset an increasing number of people with his content. He did breach a number of the rules and regulations over here. You know, he just did. That is the reality of it. And they had enough of him. And they wanted him gone. And that was nothing to do with vloggers or expats. It was to do with, as I understand it, but you'll say, I don't know shit, blah, 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 you all know better. How you know better, I do not know. It was a number of complaints were made. A couple of local Filipino women were very vocal on Facebook about the fact that they'd gone out on dates with him and they hadn't realised that he was a vlogger and he'd lied to them, etc. And, you know, they were the allegations. And there were a lot of complaints made. I mean, again, when they declared him persona non grata, that's what they said. You know, so how anyone can argue there wasn't a case when you've seen the videos? Yeah, I think the laws are stupid, but it's obvious that if you wanted to follow it by the letter of the law, then he was in a lot of trouble. And obviously they were determined to look like they were going to plough ahead with it. It looked like their intention was to throw the book at him. And I think the immigration thing, you know, they just decided, and I think they're very wise. You know, I thought it would be a bit strong. It would give them a lot of adverse publicity if they did take him to court and prosecute him. They decided that the better option would be to just kick him out on the basis of an overstay. And as some people have said in the comments, he wasn't kicked out because of content, he was kicked out because he overstayed. No one gets kicked out of the Philippines for overstaying 4 days. You know, they just looked for an easy out. And he knew he was in trouble. I'm supremely confident of that, reading comments that people have said, you know, he started removing content months ago. And I mean, this is why I'm making this video now. I don't really care about him, to be honest with you. I don't have any hatred for the guy. I'm really not that bothered. What I find just so shocking is all this hero worship, all this man love. Get some self-respect. He's a good guy, you haven't done this, he's a winner, he has a channel, he has all this, blah, blah. What is wrong with people? He's just a guy who had a channel. He came over here, he chanced his luck, he realised that there was a gap in the market, that a lot of people weren't really pushing the envelope, and in his mind he had an idea that he could push the envelope just enough that he wouldn't get in trouble and he'd make a few quid and he'd get a successful channel on him. Fair play for him trying to do that, nothing against that, you know, he took the risk, he wanted to do that, but he pushed it too far. There is no great conspiracy, there is, you know, it is what it is. He took a risk, he started a channel, he did very well with his channel in terms of views, but as I say, he shit on his own doorstep, he upset too many people. He had countless times, countless opportunities. He wasn't oblivious to what the potential ramifications were. None of us are over here. But he carried on and he pushed it and he did other things, as I've said, you know. And if you can't accept that, then you want to give yourself a good wobble. It's not a very I mean, most of these guys in the comments, they're men. What's wrong with you? Move on. A couple of them always profess to be real men, but they're crying their eyes out like snowflakes over a guy who's been deported, you know, as if, you know, I don't know, I'd be ashamed, honestly, to behave that way. I mean, you know, it's happened, he's gone. Do I think he should have gone? No. Do I think he should have behaved the way he did? No. You know, in some ways he was brave to do what he did, but I think he was stupid and foolhardy in the sense that it was quite obvious to a lot of people what the eventual ramifications would be. And it has come to pass. And that is it. That is what happened. All this bullshit about trumped up charges, and yeah, there was some jealousy from the Filipinos, I'm sure there was. I said in previous videos, there was some, you know, Pinoy pride was hurt. Which again, he was stupid, in my opinion, to do that, don't want to fall over again, and not realise that he was going to get in trouble for it. I mean, anyone could do that kind of content. The reason he and a few other vloggers I won't mention here, who are, because then I'll get their fan base on, so I know you're just picking out him or whatever, you know, they do push the envelope because there is a gap in the market, because there aren't many people making that kind of content, even though there clearly is a market for it. Well, the reason they're not making that content is two reasons. A, most of the vloggers out here are like me, just do it as a hobby, can't be bothered to go out and do all the rest of it, and really don't want to get in trouble, can see what the consequences are going to be, and see in the long term it is not worth the trouble, it is not worth the effort. But as I say, I tell you, I just wanted to get it off my chest. We're down at Palawan Beach waiting for the sunset. Ellen wants a sunset. You know, it's just extraordinary to me. These people who are they just must, I mean, God, I get that you like the channel, but can you not understand, this is the Philippines. You know, there are laws here which he broke. The reason they deported him was not because of the overstay. The fact that they did not prosecute him is not because there was no case, it was all made up. It's because they decided the easiest thing was to get him out of here, to get him out of the Philippines. And then they got him out of the Philippines, they would not have to go through all the adverse potential publicity that the case. They didn't want him to highlight, you know, the vlogging laws and that over here. And the vlogging laws are a fascinating thing, you know. They've been in effect since 2012. I don't think anyone's been done. You know, if they were ever going to prosecute someone for them, you think it would be Vitali or Sim, and they haven't. So who knows if they ever will. And hopefully they won't. You know, hopefully they won't. I am no champion of these things. I think it's ridiculous. But it is not my country, and I did not make these rules. But the fact is, they exist. And they were considering doing it. And if they'd wanted to, he would have had a bloody hard case to prove. Well, he couldn't. He's banged the rights. He did it. You know, you can see it in the videos. And those were, how you doing? And those were, I think I could probably take that as consent. And those were the cases that, you know, the allegation made against him. I mean, how can you say he's not done it when they have complaints, filed complaints saying that they have asked him to remove content and he didn't remove it, you know, despite numerous requests. That's what the prosecutors and that were saying here. And all this nonsense about he wasn't charged with anything. Well, he wasn't charged with anything because the investigation was still ongoing. So they were deciding what to charge him with. You know, that's the whole point of an investigation, isn't it? You know, they were formulating the charges. And as I say, the powers that be obviously looked at it, decided, why bother? Just get him out of here. And I don't think he'll ever come back. I think it's pretty obvious now that Dumagetti have declared him persona non grata, so he will never be able to come back to Dumagetti. And I would imagine, I don't know, it looks like the whole of the Philippines are going to do that, so his days are over. And for him and his family and his daughter, that's sad. I get if your friends and family are them, you know, it's sad. You know, if you liked his channel, it's a shame for you. But man up and accept it and stop crying like babies and accusing everyone else he's an innocent man and he's this and you're all just jealous and you're all... What a lot of bollocks. I mean, honestly, I don't know how you guys, you know, the ones who are... I mean, I've tried to reason with you, tried to explain, I've tried to say no because it's this, because it's that. I mean, people will send me videos of other people saying risque things and, you know, well, why is this video bad, why is that, why aren't the police investigating that? Well, I don't know. I'm not the police. I just know him in terms of the content and what the accusations were against him. I mean, if you murdered someone, you wouldn't have a very strong defence. You said, well, what about me? They did it as well. You know, that other guy. I mean, it's just nonsensical. Anyway, I've gone on enough about that. I just want to get off my chest. That's the whole point of having a YouTube channel. I know a lot of you are going to melt down over this. Well, melt away. Honestly, I couldn't. It's just blown my mind. The internet. The fact that people, you know, it is extraordinary that people's inability to accept facts, to see things that aren't there, and just basically the hero worship. I mean, my advice to you would be, if you're one of these guys, stop living vicariously through other people. If you think he's this fantastic, how you doing? If you think he's this fantastic guy, this wonderful man, this, you know, this superhero, well, ask yourself why. And if you do, well, emulate him, be him. If your lives are that crap that guy's your champion, and I'm not saying that sarcastically, I mean, I just don't get it. It's a YouTube channel. You know, all this hero worship is bizarre. Anyway, there you go. That's my views. That's what I wanted to say. I think the internet is crazy. And a little word on Vlad. I think it's crazy what happened to him. You know, I say no sympathy whatsoever for Vlad. I think he's a prize arsehole. I say I don't really have a thing against him. You know, as I said in previous videos, when I first made my video about him, I didn't really know who he was, didn't have an opinion. After watching a few of his videos, oh, he's just a dickhead. But, you know, the world is full of dickheads. Doesn't make him a bad person. But Vlad's a different type of dickhead. Yeah, what I'm going to say about him is I don't know anything else more than the other one. But, I mean, it is a classic example. He was making a lot of money being a dickhead. There are a lot of people out here who, for whatever reason, or sorry, not out here, online, who just lap up that kind of stuff. I mean, he wouldn't have been doing what he did over here in terms of the crap that Vlad got in trouble for if there wasn't an audience for it. I just wonder, who is this audience? Who are these people? I mean, who are these? It's just, to me, it is extraordinary. I'm walking off the beach now. I'll have to turn back in a minute. I find it extraordinary. I honestly do. That these people exist and that they're so vocal. But there you go. I'm a middle-aged man. And I'm going to get now these comments. You're not a middle-aged man. You won't live to 108 and blah, blah, blah. Again, these comments don't bother me. I laugh at them, you know, because it's the stupidity of these people. I mean, the reality is, you use any website, any search engine in the world and ask the definition of middle age, it will range some up until 65, but it's basically from 30 to 65 really, some will say 40 to 65, you know, nowhere, no search engine will you have a 54-year-old man described as old. That's the reality. So when I say I am a middle-aged man, I am a middle-aged man. If you don't like that, so what? You know, when I get to 65, I would accept I'm an old man, I'm a pensioner. That's what the whole pension's about. I don't have any problem with my age, but it's just these little people, like they're the same ones, you know, something like that. I said the other day about the USSR. I know that it's not the USSR anymore. You know, I was alive when the Berlin Wall fell, and when Gorbachev, you know, stood down, the Soviet Union crumbled. You know, I'm aware of that. But sometimes I refer to it as the USSR. I once commented in a video I called London Londinian, which is what it was called in the time the Romans were there. Newsflash, I know the Romans aren't there anymore. When I do my videos around Vietnam, I'm referring to Ho Chi Minh City as Saigon. I'm well aware that Saigon fell in 1975. You know, it is, was it 77? Either way, I know it fell. 75, I think. But having been there, the locals like you to call it Saigon. The vast majority of them don't like the fact it's called Ho Chi Minh City. But see, there is a classic example. I called it USSR. I must have had about 20 comments. One of them had about 30 likes. Going, do you not realise that the Soviet Union fell and that? And I said to them, get a life, you loser. I mean, these people are it just blows your mind. But the internet is full of them. And I'm sure they feel so superior when they're tapping away. I said, there's one guy, he watches every one of my videos. I won't give you every one of my videos and everything. And he's told me a few times that he's a real man and he's this, but then he'll do this. Well, real men don't bitch and fucking watch YouTube videos. And he hates my channel, but watches everyone and comments on everyone and puts a dislike on everyone, but wants to pretend to the world that he's this big macho know-it-all, you know, authority on the Philippines. He's a wanker. You know, it's just, you know, anyone who reads his comments knows that, and he knows who he is if he's watching. I mean, it's just, anyway, there you go. Look, I've gone on too long. I may never have posted this video. I was just getting things off my chest. And I'm done with them now. I'm done with pro-life and Vlad and all the rest of this bollocks. It's not where I want to go with my channel. It's just, I got dragged into it. I thought it was something I'd talk about because it was going on in Dumageddon, and it's ended up being a few videos, and it's ended up exposing me to the realities of so many arseholes that are online. They're just so bad at it. They think they're gonna, you know, the thing that annoys me, and it does look like I'm bothered, I know it does, I know it's a rant. The thing that bothers me is the fact that they think they've got to me with a comment, when in reality, what bothers me is the fact they think such stupid comments would get to me. I just sit there thinking, what kind of a mind would think that's a clever answer? What kind of a mind would think that was witty? I mean, they say there's an art to vlogging. Oh my God, art to trolling. My God, I've never come across anyone who's mastered the art, not on my channel. They're bang average. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm going to end it now. If you did like the video, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed and you're interested in this kind of content, smash the like button. If you hated the video, well, tough. Don't subscribe. Whatever you are, whatever you're doing, stay safe, be lucky.